Welcome back, and today we're talking about Moriarty the Patriot, episode 8. So, like always, let's just jump into it. Episode 8 of Moriarty the Patriot, we finally see Sherlock Holmes and we're getting a full episode with him. We get to see Sherlock Holmes' perspective, how he works on cases. So that's really awesome. I was really looking forward to that because whenever we got introduced to Sherlock Holmes, the way his character was behaving, like carefree and stuff like that, I really enjoyed his character type. So I was really hoping we would get more screen time with Sherlock Holmes. I did not expect to come into this episode and 100% get a full episode where we just see Sherlock Holmes' perspective. So that was really awesome. I was really surprised by it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this episode quite a lot. It seems like it's going to be like a two-parter episode, so we're probably going to get another episode with Sherlock Holmes right before we jump back to Moriarty. Again, remember the name of the anime is Moriarty the Patriot. So Moriarty is in essence the true main character of this anime. But I will have to say, right, without Sherlock Holmes, Moriarty cannot fully be Moriarty, right? And it's vice versa. Without Moriarty, Sherlock Holmes cannot be Sherlock Holmes, right? So whenever these two characters are in the same place, that's when we actually get to see the true main characters of this anime. So that's awesome. We finally got both of them here. And honestly, it was quite exciting. Now, before we jump to the rest of the episode, let me remind you to like and subscribe. It definitely helps the channel out, and I greatly appreciate it. But let's talk Moriarty the Patriot, or should we say Sherlock Holmes, because that was exactly what this episode was all about. We get to see Miss Hudson, absolutely great. I did not think we were going to see her. I thought the anime was going to change some things up, but it seems they're sticking to be very loyal to the characters in Sherlock Holmes. Heck, we even got to see John Watson, absolutely great. Now, my experience watching Sherlock Holmes is the Netflix series. I really haven't read the book, the novels, or anything like that. So that's all that I really get to go by, right? Heck, I know whenever they showed the 221B door, the apartment, heck, my background, I knew immediately what it was because it was heavily said and talked about on the Netflix TV show. So that's awesome. I like that. I kind of got some of the references, and it was absolutely amazing seeing Miss Hudson behave the way she is. She seems to be younger than the Netflix version, but you know, she's trying to get Sherlock to pay rent. So he can't do it because he doesn't have too many cases to work on, so the police is not paying him. So he needs a roommate. This is how episode 1 starts on Netflix. It's kind of like a complete mirror of it as well. So it's absolutely amazing. I don't know if the books also go about doing it this way, but it was very familiar to me, right? Like I remember this story being set up as well. So it so happens that every person that Sherlock brought over for Miss Hudson approval to be his roommate, she denied it because honestly, come on, who's going to approve those people to live in there, right? They're probably not going to pay rent. Sherlock brought like somebody that was trying to be an actor. Yeah, no, he's not going to pay rent. He brought a lady of the night or a man of the night. I don't know exactly what that was. The voice kind of put me off a little bit. And then he even brought an old man that was about to like pass away in about a week or two. So yeah, they're not paying rent. So of course, Miss Hudson did not approve any of those people. So whenever Sherlock Holmes started talking to Stanford again, seeking his help, that's when Stanford kind of recommends John Watson. And seeing him show up, absolutely amazing. I love John Watson as a character. He's like the helper to Sherlock Holmes. So he is very important to the story. And we see he went to work real quick, right? Whenever he went to the apartment, 221B Baker Street, famous or infamous address, right? He saw Sherlock Holmes like kind of like laying on the ground, like he was hurt or something. He immediately went to check his pulse, his airways, kind of like the medic that he is. And we see the whole scene where Sherlock Holmes deduces everything about John Watson, about him being in the war, being a writer, all that stuff. So again, those scenes are very alike, like the Netflix special. So again, I asked if this scene also happened in the books, because it seems like everything is very the same, right? In all the tellings that I've seen of Sherlock Holmes, they all do the same thing. So I'm guessing that it is in the books, but it doesn't mean that it was bad. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Seeing Sherlock Holmes being able, his powers of observation are always a treat to see. So that was awesome. He was working on some type of like liquid that would detect blood. So I'm sure that's going to come into play later on. I cannot wait to see that. But really, the big stuff in this episode was, one, when they were in the bar, so Miss Hudson would get to know John Watson. They were getting along, so of course he is going to get the approval to be roommates with Sherlock Holmes. But the murder of Count Drebber, his name was Drebber, he was murdered brutally that night, and he wrote Sherlock Holmes' name, right? He wrote Sherlock with his blood, so automatically the police thinks it was Sherlock Holmes. And I love how Sherlock Holmes kind of just taunts the police, saying, wait a minute, like, that's all it takes for me to get arrested? Somebody wrote my name, like I have an alibi. Like, I love how he keeps taunting all the different police officers, because obviously they don't know what they're doing, right? Like, obviously Sherlock has an alibi. He was at the bar, he was with Miss Hudson and John Watson, so he has an alibi, and they still arrested him. But he did work with Lestrade in order to go investigate the crime scene. Lestrade, of course, I know about him. He helped Sherlock Holmes out. It was amazing. But once I get to the crime scene, Sherlock, of course, with his powers of observation, he was able to kind of pretty much debunk everything, right? Like the name Sherlock, you can tell that it's not the same finger. It's not Drebber's finger, because his finger was way smaller, right? Like, in order for Drebber to write Sherlock's name, he would have to do it, like, gone over it so many times, because it was like really thick. So that kind of tells you the person who did it was somebody a lot bigger, right? If we go by the proportions of the hands. But on top of that, right, Sherlock Holmes was able to deduce that whoever did this, because of the way they shot, it was an amateur person committing the crime, but it was like a mastermind behind everything, right? Because everything else seemed to be perfect, right? Like the butler was drugged, so he was asleep. The old lady, the cook, I believe, she was in her room and she can't really hear anything, so she was not going to be able to hear the gunshots. The other maid, she was outside waiting for her lover. I don't know who that is. I'm sure we're going to find out later on. But essentially everybody that could potentially hear the gunshots and see the criminal, they were away. So it was kind of like the perfect crime, right? But of course, somebody like Sherlock Holmes will be able to kind of catch on all those different hints and make a good deduction, right? So that was awesome. And I love how Sherlock Holmes was thinking back onto the boat and everything that happened in the boat, right? Because he kind of made the same thing, like the whole play where somebody is controlling everything behind the scenes. So I don't know if it's already suspecting Moriarty. Maybe that's the case, but I cannot wait for the next episode, because I really do love this version of Sherlock Holmes, right? Like the carefree, the guy that kind of, you know, plays around with Miss Hudson and hinting at some things. It was really fun. I can't wait to see part 2 of this episode and see how Sherlock Holmes is gonna solve this crime, right? Is he gonna automatically know that it was Moriarty? Is he gonna find the true criminal? I wonder how he's gonna solve it. But he did give something to John Watson. I believe it was like a note, maybe instructions on something that John Watson is going to have to do, and I can't wait to see that happen. Overall, great episode. I'm glad they changed it up a little bit, because I do love Moriarty, but I really wanted to know Sherlock Holmes, and the fact that they gave us a whole episode today and possibly another episode next week is quite amazing. But let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode, and like always, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode.